Okay, listen. I'm gonna get nerdy on you for just a second. Actually, hold on.
Domain expansion. Shameless nerd.
Wolverine having trouble popping his claws, that's not a thing. As you know, Wolverine's skeleton is lined with adamantium. Adamantium doesn't rust. Best argument you got is Wolverine's ability to actually pop the claws. Snicked, if you will. And the only way that would be an issue is if his healing factor had been compromised. And based on all the shooting and stabbing and slashing that he receives, I think his healing factor is working just fine. In conclusion, Wolverine having claw popping issues is only there for a basic boner joke. And in that case, I'll allow it. All right. I'm not one of those asshole YouTubers looking for quick clicks. You're not gonna see spoilers in my thumbnails, okay? I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I'm gonna keep this as basic as I can. In Deadpool 2, he did fuck with time a little bit. And now the TVA, from Loki, they're looking to fix what he did before his universe gets destroyed. Here's the thing, he needs a little help from a Wolverine. And then he finds one. And together they skip around the multiverse, they get in some fights, there's some jokes, and some really unexpected cameos. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, I don't know if I can make you understand how good of a job he does with this character. If you've ever read Deadpool comics, there are different writers that have different takes on this character. And most of the time, he's just annoying and not funny at all. Creating a character that's actually funny without being overly obnoxious is very difficult. But Ryan knows how to do it. He understands the balance that's needed. And the best way to balance out a funny, annoying dude is to contrast him with a no-nonsense asshole, like Wolverine, or like Cable from the last one. Now that I think about it, my favorite team-ups for Deadpool in the comics, Wolverine's a good one. Cable for sure is my favorite. But here's another thing. Deadpool also teams up really well with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is a funny dude, but he's not annoying. I don't have to think about this for a minute. Side note, there is a Deadpool comic where he's annoying the shit out of Thanos because comic book Thanos is in love with Lady Death, the embodiment of death. And Lady Death thinks Deadpool is a funny guy. Anyway, we've got Wolverine in here to balance out that Deadpool nonsense. My man, Hugh Jackman, is back at it. He started playing Wolverine in the year 2000. And I think that this is actually the closest we've seen Wolverine to comic book Wolverine. And I honestly love him for it. Don't get me wrong, I loved Logan, but that's still not Wolverine. That's a different version of Wolverine without the healing factor, even though you still get the R rating, so you still get the violence. This Wolverine has no restrictions, and it's also comic book accurate. Quick side note.
Domain expansion.
Out of any comic book character, I've read more Wolverine comics than anything. I actually did make a video about my favorite Wolverine comic that nobody talks about. It's awesome. It's the best portrayal of the character. That video is in the description. Seeing Wolverine in his comic accurate costume, that actually meant something to me. Seeing him in his mask? The main villain we have here. Yeah, the main villain. It's Cassandra Nova. She is the evil twin of Professor X. Emma Corrin playing her, she was great. She's this total telekinetic psychopath. And when I say psychopath, I didn't question it at all. This woman is nuts and a threat and scary. Like her brother, she does have the ability to read people's minds, but it's not as easy for her. She has to get a little more hands-on with it. Ugh. Also, as I said, there's a lot of great cameos here. Some of the cameos, my jaw was dropped. I was actually shocked. The internet hasn't spoiled everything just yet. But the most important cameo we have here is the return of Peter. Deadpool and Wolverine is fucking great. It's fucking great. Without spoiling shit, I do feel like this movie was made just for me. There's some great comic book jokes for nerds. There's great references to comic book movies over the last 25 years. Maybe more? The whole tone of this thing is like, hey, aren't comic book movies silly? Let's have some fun with it. It's a fun fucking movie. And the best thing is that when I watched this, I at least had a smile on my face the whole time. I was just happy to see what I was seeing. And it really appealed to my inner nerd. This guy. I thought that the humor was great too. Deadpool can be annoying, and when you've got Wolverine there telling him to shut the fuck up, then getting annoyed at him enough to fight him, it takes me back into reading comic books. I've seen this play out so many times, but actually getting to see it on a screen playing out the same way that you read it in a comic, that brought me joy. The overabundance of silliness somehow worked for me as well. They're making fun of me to my face, and I couldn't get enough of it. Because maybe comic book movies aren't supposed to be serious all the time. So this being the material that it is, you just get this barrage of jokes coming at you all the time. And I would say 4 out of 5 jokes landed for me. I'm sure I missed more than a few, but I'd say the writing of the jokes was pretty consistently funny. It was the deep cut comic book references and the older comic book movie stuff that really got me laughing out loud. I think they also used the R rating well. They don't overwhelm you with the R rating. There's swearing and there's violence, and that's balanced out pretty well. Well, there are some jokes that are pretty crude and pretty gross. The opening credits scene is so disrespectful. I loved it. All the fight scenes, they're exciting in one way or another. Either the action itself or the characters that were involved in the fighting. For sure, the internet spoiled some cameos, but there's still some in there that were genuinely shocking that the internet hasn't quite fucked up yet. If you don't want that spoiled, go see it now. 2 of the cameos, genuinely shocking. I think this is exactly how a Deadpool movie should be. It's silly and stupid and loaded with bloody fights. If you're a fan of the other 2 Deadpool movies, I think you'll like this one too. For this specific movie, going in with no expectations is incredibly hard. So far, this whole trilogy is so consistent with itself. And I think the progression of it is how a trilogy should play out. And it's led by a team that loves the source material. I don't think you can ask for much more than that. I loved it. For sure, go see Deadpool. See it as fast as you can before the internet ruins everything, okay? See ya! Subscribe! So, there is an end credits scene, but before that, while the credits are rolling, they play this reel of behind-the-scenes footage from comic book movies over the last 25 years. And as I'm watching this, I actually started to feel my heartstrings getting pulled. A fucking Deadpool movie got me nostalgic and made me feel a little emotional. What?
Let's fucking go.